Buzz Lightyear of Star Command is a straight-up parody of Star Wars. With fewer wars, is 20% more marketable to kids, and is home to the most disappointing alien aesthetics I've ever seen. The only saving grace this show has are the bounty of drone designs it offers, many of which are so iconic and creative that they stick around in your head long enough after the death of the show. Despite my gripes on how Todd Stones handled the design of some of the aliens, and how John Lasseter basically sent this show to the Shadow Realm, none of them compare to the massive disappointment that is Zurg's Horde, or the lack of the Horde. I'm not going to mention the nefarious Scrounger Model 4 Annihilator Mark II, because everybody on this godforsaken planet knows who he is more than they do the rest of the Horde. And I apologize in advance, for I am about to mention murder drones more often than Star Wars. Because these robot chupacabras in that show are what happens when you upgrade a Hornet's intelligence as well as their arsenal. But you know what disappoints me the most? The Murder Drones fandom wiki is the most overstimulated wiki I've ever seen up until the creation of this video. Bounds of images of the show being plastered onto each wiki page like it's a... Oh, fuck, you gotta look at it for yourself. All while the Buzz Lightyear of Star Command fandom wiki is in a complete shithole. Rife with missing information, incomplete articles, terrible use of images, and a lack of articles that have to exist on the site. Where are the Technotics? Where are the Mini-Hornets? Where are the Wasps? Where is the page for the Proto-Beetle? Why does this comment about otherwise known as the Where is the fucking Dung Beetle? Zurg is a narcissistic, techno-organic, megalomaniacal warlord who has total dominion over the Zeta Quadrant of the show's galaxy. As a kingpin dictator ruling over a corporate industrial empire comprised of a terrorist hermit kingdom, he is obsessed with authority and rules with an iron fist. His planet is armed with one security satellite, a space blockade, and a mechanical planetoid called an automatic defense moon that deploys seeker drones on occasion.
The armor of Zurg is capable of withstanding severe punishment, from devastating physical blows to explosives that would normally obliterate a Homo sapiens body. His helmet, bearing resemblance to Nemesis the Warlock, is a modified version of the German frogmouth helmet that allows him to breathe in any environment without depending on his species' source of breathable air. He'll only turn off his helmet's filters to enjoy certain aromas.
His organic employees consist of bug-like aliens and brains in jars, each assigned different roles to perform different tasks on Planet Z or the other worlds he has total dominion over, with varying levels of competency. The Grubs are small, timid, teal, insectoid-like beings inspired by the roly-poly that are outfitted with a red jumpsuit and a customized headset for their small antennas. Due to their swarming numbers and small stature, they take on the majority of the grunt work when it comes to maintaining the massive industrial empire Zurg has at his disposal. Though time and time again they've proven themselves to be more incompetent than the brain pods.
Did you make sure that the plus end went to the plus part and the minus end went to the minus part?
Oh, that would do it, huh?
Despite this setback, Zurg still uses these insecure, spineless bugs as his grunts because they are much more submissive and less plucky and invasive than their better halves. The brain pods are a group of various alien beings genetically modified to resemble a human central nervous system. Also, they can fit inside of their three-wheeled mechanical suits. To boost productivity, their body armor's helmet provides them with the liquids necessary to keep their bodies stimulated without the need to eat or sleep for long periods of time. Their helmets also come equipped with small compartments that allow them to ingest food should the need ever arise.
They can also dispense small flat objects from this compartment. For example, this $1 bill.
As their name implies, the brain pods are the innovators of the Empire, always coming up with new inventions to appease their tyrannical emperor. Unlike the cowardly insects, their intellect makes them less expendable, and some of them take full advantage of this by being far more daring than their fearful co-workers. As daring as you can be with a mentally unstable dictator. In order to keep such an empire operational, and to conquer the entire galaxy, an army of whacking size must be manufactured, because organic soldiers can only do so much to keep your empire eternal. With the assistance of the Grubs and the brain pods, this was made possible. The Hornet is a tall, yellow, lanky bipedal droid whose design is inspired by real-life Hornets. Equipped with rocket-fueled jetpacks and arm-like cannons barely imitating hands that can change into the standard Tri-Blaster or any other tool of choice. So far, the only tools they utilize in the franchise are electric cuff claws, a mini laser cannon with two modes, one is a concentrated shot, the other is a full-on ball of plasma, maces and hammers, spotlights, and electric shields, many of which are very self-explanatory in their functions. As for the standard Tri-Blaster, the spread of the weapon implies that it's more so used as a tool of intimidation and disorientation rather than an accurate weapon that's supposed to kill people.
Some are given electric staffs that are handled as electric batons or cattle prods. As a last resort, they launch their pseudo-ends and pin their enemies down. The fingers of the converted anchor wrap tightly around the target to pin them down until reinforcements arrive.
On rare occasions would a Hornet be outfitted with deceptive infiltration gadgets like a cheap deployable disguise suit and a pre-made tape recorder to get past areas with less stringent security. But going fully incognito was reserved for the more specialized models. Unlike the more expensive disassembly drones, Hornets are built dirt cheap, much like a standard B-1 battle droid. Constructed with the cheapest materials the galaxy has to offer, making them the most efficient drone of the Horde to manufacture. And unlike worker or disassembly drones, they can eat real human food for some reason. That's a step up from eating batteries and drinking oil for your entire life as a drone. And because it's fucking funny. While their programming lacks in the intelligence department to make them as loyal to the Emperor as possible, they can withstand more physical trauma than a basic B-1 battle droid. but are easily destroyed with a simple blast of a laser-powered weapon, or if they manage to collide with an object really hard while they're airborne. If they're lucky to stay intact at all, they'll end up losing a couple liters or a gallon of oil. Although the Hornet performs well in massive numbers as shock troopers and bodyguards, their primary function is to serve as scouts, hunting beyond Zurg's realm in the galaxy for planets left unclaimed by his evil, greedy hands. After acquiring such planets, like the unnamed mining planet in the episode Shiv Katal, its resources would be used to produce either weapons of mass destruction or even more drones. Planets under his rule would either serve as a mass producer of Hornets or other specialized drones that can traverse planets too dangerous for the standard models to inhabit. Being the most prominent drone of the Horde, the other models took inspiration from its design. The cannon arms and the visors vary for each model based on their specialities, but the head rarely deviates from the original design. The Technotic is a small hexapod whose design is inspired by, you guessed it, a tick. Armed with 2 grapplers and a metallic needle, its primary function is to steal files from either a droid or a computer, completely annihilating their internal systems during the entire process. They're either used by Zurg's agents in stealth missions or participate in the battlefield en masse to annoy organics or destroy cybernetics. For non-confrontational missions, the spy drone, otherwise known as the hoverfly, is a fairly small tripod with 2 jet repulsors and a camera lens. It's only equipped with a cheap elastic balloon that can help it take on a crude metallic form of any organism Zurg decides to spy on. They are only deployed on short-term reconnaissance missions to infiltrate lesser societies and gather intelligence. But they're also used as cameras for Zurg's live television broadcasting. As for long-term undercover reconnaissance, the Spectra is a specialized drone programmed with highly advanced AI that makes them indistinguishable from real organisms. Inspired by the walking stick bug, it has red V-shaped visors, a golden body lankier than that of the standard Hornet, deploys 4 rockets for self-defensive measures, and puts to use its hyper-realistic metallic disguises. They are only used to gather personal intelligence from clueless prisoners or examine inhabited planets outside of the Zeta Quadrant. Vostok Trevo is the only unit we get to see on screen, and despite his depressing brief appearances, gave me a lot of insight about Zurg's design philosophy when it comes to robots. He'll only give his best drones higher intelligence, and a part of his own personality only if it would help him get closer to his dreams of conquering the entire galaxy. Even then, 1 undercover unit isn't enough to sell the illusion for someone like Buzz Lightyear. The Mini-Hornets are just miniature versions of the standard Hornet with V-shaped visors, armed with the same equipment the Hornet bears, and are used to crawl through holes and crevices other drones can't reach. The only difference is that they are able to disguise themselves as hyper-realistic children and assault their prey. Just thank Todd Stones that he did not go all the way when he was inspired by the parasitoid Wasp. The Wasp is a tall, lanky pink droid with orange claws that primarily functions as a creepy, crawly quadruped when not engaged in combat. its entire design inspired by the red Wasp. It's a specialized version of the Hornet that's built for prolonged aerial combat, utilizing 4 wings for extended flight instead of relying on the limits of oil-powered fuel. Unlike the other drones, it's the only model that's not equipped with a tri-blaster, and instead it utilizes a singular blaster cannon for more accurate shots and more devastating firepower.
They are also armed with grappling hooks to cling themselves to walls or capture any persons of interest, and flamethrowers to raise planets filled with plant life to construct facilities or allow other units to cross without delay.
Unfortunately, these drones are never seen in space, which implies that the Wasp's wings work more like a disassembly drone's wings, in which they utilize the planet's biosphere to be able to fly. The difference being, the bladed feathers of the disassembly drones manipulate the planet's magnetic field to allow them the ability to hover and fly without consequence, while the Wasp works with the planet's gravity to perform the feat of flying. It's just a shame that most of its construction was more focused on the fear factor than anything that could actually turn the tides of a war. Or invasion, either one of the two. The Beetle is a bulky red drone inspired by a plethora of red beetle species, with its head and its torso and its body being held up by tank threads. Given that it was released before Star Wars II: Attack of the Clones, it serves as the main inspiration of the B-2 battle droid and its jetpack variants. It is armed with 2 separate jetpacks, 2 armed cannons equipped with tri-blasters and flamethrowers, and comes equipped with an anchoring device on its chest, the same area in which the B-2 battle droid's red light sensor is located. Its armor is thick enough to withstand small, concentrated lasers, physical attacks from even the most physically fit organic beings in the galaxy, and a few asteroids before succumbing to metal fatigue. Should the need arrive, the Beetle can use its flamethrowers as rocket propellers to either evade enemy fire or kamikaze itself to destroy a door. It can even critically damage a ship just by performing this feat while throwing itself carelessly towards the hull. Given their immense physical prowess, they're living siege engines intelligently designed to serve as the tanks of Zurg's horde. However, they are not the ultimate weapons the horde has to offer, as a disassembly drone would still be able to disassemble it. The Hyper Hornet is a giant version of the Hornet with red visors and a thicker body, whose main inspiration is taken from the mythical Minotaur. Its abdomen also serves as a containment chamber, where Tangine ghosting and other forms of intangibility are rendered null and void. Of the many weapons it brandishes, it wields a heavily modified tri-blaster and flamethrower, an upgraded concentrated laser cannon, high explosive rockets, specialized turrets, and a unique weapon that dispenses energy rings to ensnare anybody that manages to get into its range of fire. The chassis of this Goliath of a tank has been absurdly upgraded to the point where its body is nigh impossible to destroy in combat. A disassembly drone's tail would fail to penetrate its upgraded chassis for the nanites to take effect. And their weapons would also fail to pierce through the Hornet's body. Not even the energy beams would be able to cut through this behemoth. Unfortunately, all it takes for someone to destroy it are some very thick tripwires. The Mega Hornet is a different variation of the Hyper Hornet that also serves as a spaceship. It has a scarlet body with purple trims and green visors. While not as obnoxiously armed as a Hyper Hornet, it utilizes rockets, a Gatling cannon, and turrets large and small from its body. Its odd aerodynamic proportions give it better mobility as a quadruped. And given that the rockets in the Gatling cannon can be used while it's in this form, the Mega Hornet will be able to attack its targets with vicious rigor. Only one was used when Zurg wanted to personally conquer Joad with this destructive hybrid.
Zurg would also take into consideration the use of EMPs against his ultimate weapons, and likely outfitted their internals with RF shielding materials. Without their drone card, a disassembly drone will be disassembled by these nigh unstoppable titans.
As impressive as this rogue's gallery of droids is, it feels incomplete. Mostly due to the lack of episodes that feature planets from the Zeta Quadrant. If the show would have continued for a few more seasons, we would have seen even more of the drones he had in his arsenal. Like a hawk moth, or a spider, or a mosquito. Freaking little mosquito. Given that his drones rely on the swarm tactics and the usage of several situational tools, Zurg could have been a straight-up parody of the Confederacy of Independent Systems if Buzz Lightyear: A Star Command was released just a little later than usual. Then it was, oh my fucking Christ. Hell! I would even go as far as to say that George Lucas wanted General Grievous to be nothing more than a full-on parody of the cartoony version of Zurg himself. Albeit there are still sub-elements of the more serious Zurg that still lurks within the cyborg.
Now that you mention it, I am a bit overdue for a cost of living raise. You know, when I gave up my body, certain promises were made.
I was just being polite. I don't really care, all right? Now, unless anyone else wants to tell me his or her life story, can we shoot the big gun?
You would not let us ride on one of those creatures with you, sir. You would allow us to close down for a few moments.
Any more complaints?
No, I don't think so.
That's what I thought.
Riveting Trivia. The original prototype of Zurg from the deleted opening of Toy Story bears details reminiscent of General Grievous's mask. His overall design had to be changed because his mask, his ship, and the space station were all leaning towards the letter T. Jarring thing for a name like Zurg. Now if they changed his name to Purge, the franchise would have looked completely different to how it is today.
No! It can't be! Buzz Lightyear! No! No!